Okay. All right, we are now live. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the House Economic Matters Committee. We have bill hearings on two bills this afternoon. The first one that we will take is Senate Bill 418 that is offered by Senator Pinsky. My understanding is that he is in appropriations, but we've been asked to go ahead and proceed with his witnesses. We also have Senate Bill 933 offered by Senator Benson. And if she's here, when we get to her bill, we'll take it, or I will just review it for everyone. So with that, we can go ahead and start. Senator Pinsky said once he finished in appropriations, he would flip over to us. And I've got two witnesses listed.
Madam Vice Chair, I can introduce the bill if you like. I'm from his office.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see you were there. That'd be great. So then we will start with you, Mr. Ullman.
Great. Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. I'm here to introduce Senate Bill 418, an appliance efficiency bill. This body last passed energy efficiency standards.
I work on my phone. I got a background.
Delegate Branch, you might need to mute. Sorry, go ahead.
In 2004 and 2007, the General Assembly passed energy efficiency standards that reduced the electricity use of appliances. All of those standards have now been preempted by federal law. That state law required MEA to make recommendations, however, for updates to the law, and that's where this bill comes from. We work closely with MEA on this bill, and they support it. The standards would reduce energy and electricity use on a range of appliances, which is in keeping with a number of bills that this committee has looked at and passed over the years, including climate solutions, which I know is before this committee this year. Other states are also adopting these standards. Up here is Senator Pinsky. I see him.
There he is, yes.
Popping on, so I will defer to him.
Good afternoon, Senator Pinsky.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Just started. So if you'd like to go ahead and introduce the bill, we'd be happy to hear you.
That's great. I appreciate it. This has to do with adding some products for energy efficiency purposes. I think we first did this about 7 or 10 years ago. We submitted a list of projects that had to be energy efficient. And in fact, after we did that a number of years ago, the federal government actually adopted some of the very same actions that we took. This is a new list. I've worked with the MEA to increase this list and ensure that we, develop and adopt products that are more energy efficient. We all are familiar with Energy Star and those kind of things. We're trying to do the same thing here in Maryland, reduce the need for energy, and that's exactly what this bill does, nothing more. And again, I've worked with the Maryland Energy Administration to compile this list. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. I imagine you have things to do over in your committee, so I'm going to let, if there are any questions for Senator Pinsky, we do have two more witnesses, but just want to be sure we can get you in and out.
I really appreciate
Senator Pinsky. All right, seeing none, obviously you're welcome to stay, but we understand that you may have other things working.
No, thank you for the consideration, and I appreciate being in front of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
So now we'll go to Richard Ekman. Is Mr. Ekman here? Don't see him. How about Jason Davidson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I am Jason Davidson, Director of Government Relations for the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance, known as PHTA. We represent more than 3,500 business entities within the pool and spa industry.
Economic Matters.
I've had the pleasure of working with many of you before as the legislative director for SDAT, so it's great to be back and see you guys again. And on behalf of PHTA, we sincerely thank Chairman Pinsky and the Maryland Energy Administration for sponsoring this very important bill. I believe my testimony should be on the record, so I'll try and keep it brief. We support the proposed amendments by the MEA in this bill that would adopt the latest, most current portable electric spa energy efficiency standard. This standard has already been adopted by over 21 states nationwide. It's already being practiced in seven different jurisdictions in Maryland, notably Montgomery, Anne Arundel, and Baltimore City. There's about 10 other states that have filed legislation similar to this. There's currently no statewide standard for portable electric spas in Maryland, so this will bring the standard in place. And we strongly support this bill and urge you, the body, to support this bill with the amendments. And I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
All right, questions for Mr. Davidson? All right, thank you very much for your testimony, and I'm sure it is in the file. We appreciate that. Is Mr. Ekman here? I still don't see him. I'm assuming he probably has testimony in the file as well. He is from the Consumer Federation of America. We're now going to turn to the opposition. Alex Bosenberg. I'm sure I mispronounced your name, but.
No, ma'am, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Alex Bosenberg. I'm the Director of Regulatory Affairs for the National Electrical Manufacturers Association, and we have a letter on file in opposition of the lighting-related language of the bill. It's our concern that the proposal is pitched as a, hey, let's just raise the efficiency of this product, when in fact its peculiar technical characteristics, this cannot raise its efficiency any higher. So the bill really is a ban. Our concern with a ban is that it's a sales ban, which means there's a very abrupt stop, and that can be challenging for retailers and manufacturers to plan their annual purchasing and distribution plans. Yeah, sorry about that. But also, these lamps tend to be used on low power fixtures. There's low power ballast in fixtures, or shop lights is another common application. And those have unique characteristics, and the lamps are built to be used on those light fixtures. And so when the lamp is no longer available, what the bill really does is not only can you not buy the lamp, but you have to buy a brand new fixture, or pay to have an electrician rewire the fixture for a different type of lamp. So we regard this as an unfortunate cost consequence for anyone with these products who now is looking for a replacement bulb and finds themselves having to buy a whole new fixture, especially those who might rely on electricians. So there are alternative products, and we'll happily sell those, but to say that it's just go buy a different bulb is not a realistic representation of the cost that will be placed on consumers. And with many consumers being cost conscious at this time, we urge you to strike the lighting related language about high color rendering fluorescent from the bill. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
And you indicated that you did submit written testimony. Is that correct?
That's correct, madam.
And I assume in the written testimony, you identify exactly what you would like stricken from the bill?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Bosenberg? Seeing none, we will move on to Jacob Cassidy.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
No, I didn't. It's because I was
Charcudian.
couldn't find my hand. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I think my question is, I was looking at this bill and looking at the various things that are in it, and it looks to me like there are other states that have these standards related to, is it the high CRI fluorescence? Is that what the section is that you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I was comparing this to other states. At least DC and Massachusetts seem to have this. Is that your understanding?
Those are two states, and some
And are there
adopted
others?
some years ago.
I'm sorry?
A few adopted a few years ago. Vermont comes to mind, and another that escapes me.
So we wouldn't be the first to set a standard such that, I mean, I think the idea behind standards often is that there's certain products then that don't get sold, right? I mean, that is kind of what happens. And then you sort of evolve from there into a way more efficient set of appliances and bulbs and hot tubs and whatever else we have here. So I just wanted to clarify that this is not we wouldn't be the first state to be doing this.
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, Delegate
Great, thanks.
Impalaria. I'm sorry, Delegate Tracutian, were you done?
No, I am. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Delegate Impalaria.
So, Alex, for a business that have these type of lighting, there's nothing really to stop them from going to Delaware or Virginia or Pennsylvania to another state and buy those types of light bulbs there and bring them back into the state of Maryland and install them.
I'd say it's very hard to enforce if someone chose to use alternate sourcing, sir.
I mean, this is, someone could have just built a brand new building that has 200-300 lights in it. And I don't see how they would be able to pull all those lights out. It would definitely be cheaper for them to just go to another state and bring them back. So we would lose the tax revenue on sale of those bulbs then, correct?
Certainly anyone who wanted to source from an alternate means or outside the state or through the internet could do that, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Delegate Aaron's.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a real quick question on the scope of these bulbs. Who uses them? How broad is this? Is this in older, like you say, a little bit older homes, and who's going to be affected the most? This is going to be in high-end homes, low-end homes? Where are they going to be?
These days, sir, that would tend to be, I guess, to use your phraseology, low-end homes. It would probably be cost-conscious consumers, people who just want to buy one fixture and put it up. Basements, garages are something we know to be a typical or a popular application for those. And again, cost-conscious consumers is what we're concerned about, sir.
Okay, so it could affect our low-income earners and people in homes or affordable housing, what have you, I would assume.
We think so, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. I see no further question from Mr. Rosenberg. So we'll go to Mr. Cassidy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jacob Cassidy. I am the Director of Government Relations at the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers. AHAM's membership includes over 150 companies that manufacture portable, major, and floor care appliances, as well as their suppliers. In total, AHAM represents around 95% of all appliances shipped for sale in the U.S. I anticipate by now you've received my full testimony in advance of today's hearing. I'm really just going to take a minute here and highlight a few points. Mainly that AHAM is opposed to SB 418 due to the inclusion of air cleaners. This provision would remove approximately 60% of air cleaners from Maryland store shelves. This would leave Maryland consumers with fewer options at higher costs, which may ultimately put these products out of financial reach for lower income residents. Due to the global pandemic, people are spending more time indoors. Many, especially allergy sufferers, rely on air cleaners to purify the air they breathe. This use shows that this product is counted on to improve human health. We urge the committee to consider this bill and the inclusion of air cleaners based on that impact. Indeed, as the testimony states, California was considering these energy standards. They removed it. They reversed course because this needed to be done by experts on indoor air quality. In the last 30 seconds I have, this bill also undercuts the Energy Star program. That is a label designation program for more efficient products on the market. It was never meant to be a mandatory minimum. Again, it exists to inform consumers of more efficient products. Thank you all for your time, for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy. There are some questions. Delegate Chi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is, so Mr. Cassidy, you are not opposed to the idea of improving efficiency. Are you saying that if we extend the timeline for implementation, it might address somewhat of a market demand or market supply issue? And also related to that, if I'm hearing you correctly, that you are saying it's not technically feasible at this point?
Technically feasible to meet this standard, Delegate?
Yeah.
No, there obviously there are products on the market that are Energy Star that would be complying with that program. I believe it's roughly 40% of products on the market would not be removed. That's where the 60% number comes from. With regards to your question on timing and extending the period of time for these products, certainly that's something that would give manufacturers both time to increase supply and meet the incredible demand that we've seen over the last 14 months now of these products and other products that people are using due to the time we're spending and our focus on health during the global pandemic.
Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Arentz, then Delegate Fisher, and Delegate Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Typically, these units would be in higher end homes. They typically would have better systems, more efficient systems in them. Is that correct?
These are portable appliances. Whether or not it's that we're talking about here, this isn't a whole home system that would focus on the air. That would be more of a like your air conditioning, your HVAC system.
Is the technology advancing all the time, or are we just staying stagnant because the product's selling, or are they improving the efficiency of these units?
Well, there's certainly market competition existing today. That's what the Energy Star label program does. It provides consumers with a label that shows which products have met that requirement. Those standards were recently updated, I believe, in last October 2020. So those products and those that wish to be Energy Star labeled, they're certainly constantly evolving and becoming more efficient.
With COVID, these things where they're being used, they would probably, if they're being used in a lot of places, they would be in lower income homes, or are these typically in high end homes?
I think I don't think there's a typical home. I think that's the key to this. It's the home where there's concerns about air particulates and working to get those removed from the indoor air. It's very difficult to put a value on the air someone breathes. That's why you're focusing on this bill as a committee and as a legislature.
Delegate, she asked about if we extended the timeline on this bill. What do you think the forecast would be for something like this for the industry to catch up and these things to become obsolete?
The current energy efficiency levels, I think, is what you're referring to. And I don't really have a timeline as to when everyone would be 100% Energy Star compliant with the other parts of the bill.
I guess
that require
I'm looking to see when
compliance.
this bill would be less of an impact to your industry.
Right. Well, yeah, so there is ongoing conversation between manufacturers of air cleaners and AM and advocates pushing for this to create a federal standard to envelop this into that. And I don't have a timeline on that. I don't think it's possible for me to give you a timeline. I know that
Okay.
These things are always improving.
Well, I mean, these have a life expectancy. I would think that the current market has a life expectancy of 6 years or whatever. Plus.
I think it's around 9.
That's what
Pardon the interruption, but yes. Okay. So the replacement, you're talking about slightly less than a decade.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Delegate Fisher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is an interesting bill. I actually read this bill. I'm just curious. So it's basically a ban bill is what it looks like. So there'd be a lot of products that would be banned. I just want to recap what percentage of products would be banned if this bill were passed?
So this bill would require Energy Star labeled products to be the only product for sale in the state of Maryland.
Okay. And so
so to participate, let me just explain this, where these numbers come from a little bit. To participate in the program, companies provide EPA with sales data. So looking at the totality of products sold, and this is all publicly available from US EPA, if you look at the totality of products sold, products that are in the program are roughly 40% of the whole of products sold. So you can kind of deduce that it's about 60% would be removed from the market.
So this is a ban bill that would reduce choice by 60% in the state of Maryland. And I've bought I bought air purifiers before, And you'll see kind of like the Cadillac ones, which are fantastic, and they also are very expensive and they're portable, and the kind of the middle price and the lower price. And my daughter got one of these for her dorm room, and we bought it for her dorm room and shipped it to her. And I guess I'm just curious. I don't know what the issue is with being able to buy a cheaper unit that might use a little bit more electricity when that's what you can afford versus the more expensive one. Any comment on that?
I think you summed it up pretty well.
Okay, and then lastly, I wanted to say this. The senator who put this bill in and so many others in the legislature are really pushing solar and so forth. And I'm just somewhat confused because if you're using renewable energy on your house, then what difference does it make how much electricity you use? And I just wanted to put that out there. And I know that's not necessarily a question, but I think we should start thinking about that, because who cares how much electricity that I use if I'm generating all the electricity I need? Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher,
Thank
or
you.
Delegate Fisher. Delegate Wilson.
Thank you. I was a little befuddled by my colleague's last comment. I appreciate his pie in the sky view of everybody having solar, but we really don't yet. My questions are more, does this bill in your, sir, does this bill prevent us from ordering these online, to your understanding?
It would prohibit the sale within the state. I'd have to look at the specifics if it included online sale, but I would think an online retailer, I would think an online retailer wouldn't want to sell a non-compliant product into Maryland or really any other state in the union.
I mean, I would be surprised if it did, because there's a lot of, constitutional things we'd have to deal with when we're stopped, when we're precluded from online sales. Because I was trying to find out the overall impact on, like, I don't know do we manufacture these things in Maryland? Because that's what I'm trying to get to. How much of this bill is punishing our manufacturers in Maryland? Because that's basically what we're talking about. Because to my knowledge, I'll be able to order any of this stuff online. If I can order from China, I'm sure I can order it from Pennsylvania. So it really boils down to what percentage of this equipment that we're talking about is actually, in Maryland. And if I'm putting you on the spot, I'm not trying to, because I don't know if you're looking uncomfortable or if you're looking at something else. I'm just having a general knowledge on, are we talking about a good set of our manufacturing here, or is this more just the retailers being put in a box, in your opinion?
No, for one, I apologize. I don't mean to look distracted.
That's okay.
I've never really gotten an idea of where to look directly into it, because every time I look at the camera, I then look to see if I'm looking at it, and it never works out. So no, I'm thinking through your comment and your question, and ultimately the retailer would tell manufacturers they must comply to get these products on their shelves. That's where this kind of works its way up through that value chain or supply chain.
Okay.
So, and again, I have to look at the specifics and have a better understanding of retail law for the state of Maryland to know about how an online retailer would have to comply.
And to be clear, lastly, so California, which is most likely known as the hippie capital of the world, they pulled away from this bill?
Well, they pulled away from instituting energy standards on air cleaners because they see this as an indoor air quality matter, not an energy efficiency matter. As when it comes to health and human health, often we prioritize that versus other products that may provide energy efficiency. When it comes to someone using a product to improve the air, if they have a respiratory issue, look, if it's me, I make sure that I can get the cleanest air I can, not other considerations. That's just
okay. Well, no, thank you. That last question was mainly to lure Delegate Charkoudian back into the debate, but thank you very much. I appreciate your answer, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Delegate Charkoudian.
Well, here I am. Delegate Wilson, thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Mr. Cassidy. I can't see if there's more to your name there. Thanks for being here. First, let me just say that, Is it your understanding that efficiency is a really important part of how we're going to get to 100% clean energy? Like, is that your understanding of the bigger picture of what it is that we need to do from a global climate change perspective?
I think we're starting to get into an issue that is a bit above the level of the air cleaner itself.
Yeah.
I know that buying a new appliance, making that consumer choice is part of it, and often a new appliance is the most energy efficient thing a consumer can do, and that these things are constantly evolving.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think that, I mean, I appreciate that you're saying it's sort of out of this specific conversation you're having. I think that the challenge is that for us, sorry, Denise, you're not muted.
They were going to take her
Hey,
first.
Denise,
She didn't have any,
you're not muted.
she didn't have any witness.
There she goes.
Sorry. So,
Okay.
thank you. So, sorry. So I guess what I'm saying is that as policymakers, I think our challenge is to figure out, you know, where the buttons are that we can push on to get to this sort of clean future that we know that we need to get to. And some of it is individual choice, but often it's much more in the policy realm that we're really going to be able to make that shift. So my question is, DC, I understand, you mentioned California didn't move forward with this. DC has moved forward with this. I understand it's enrolled there. Can you tell me what's happening in DC? Or
We have sought clarity with DC Council on when this bill would actually be implemented, and there is still some confusion on whether or not there is a funding mechanism that would go into, would then initiate the creation of these standards and really kind of align what's written in the bill with actual law and policy. I will note in the DC bill, previously DC would go to Maryland or Virginia for its energy efficiency and really try to kind of have market alignment within the DMV. That bill actually sends it to California for its consideration of energy efficient products. So in a weird way, DC targets air cleaners, but then says, well, what California's doing is what we should be doing. And, you know, I've already talked enough about how California approached this. So it's confusing at best, I find it.
okay. My last question is, I'm looking at some consumer reports. Is there a correlation between sort of the effectiveness and quality of the air purifier and the efficiency of it? Like, are we getting better air cleaning in the same machines that are giving us better? I mean, in some ways you get what you pay for, right? And so the more efficient ones also seems to be the better ones from just a quick look here. And also, of course, people save money over time, not paying high for high energy bills. But is that your sense? I mean, is that accurate of your field?
I'm not an expert on how Consumer Reports reviews these products or what would be the trade-offs. What I do know through what I've heard, also included in our testimony, is the savings on this, since we did mention that that really roughly we're talking about $2.50 a month to buy the more energy efficient product over the course of a 30-day month. It's kind of pennies on the dollar per day. So it's the cost savings isn't really necessarily over the lifespan of the product the driving force between the two.
Okay, well, thank you.
Delegate Empolarian.
Thank you, Delegate Mays. If Bob, maybe you could answer this question for me, since I don't have the bill in front of me. How does this handle the secondhand market? There's a very strong secondhand market selling used appliances. Would it eliminate them from selling?
Is your question for Mr. Smith?
Actually, my question was for Bob, because I don't have the bill. Does it affect the secondhand market?
I'm just taking a look right now.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, we have a very vibrant secondhand market that for low income people, it's very important when they need new appliance or, replacement appliances.
The bill seems to primarily address the installation of new products and not the secondary market.
Okay.
Looking at
thank
page
you.
8 of the bill anyway.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I see no further questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Cassidy. And that concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 14. And Senator Benson has been patiently waiting. So we will hear you now on Senate Bill 933. Senator Benson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been listening with great interest, and I want to thank you all so much for the work that you all are doing over on the House side. I know that it's an understatement that all of us are extremely, extremely, extremely busy trying to get our bills taken care of and looking out for the interests of the people who can't speak for themselves. And I want to thank you all, Madam Vice Chair, for the work that you all are doing over in your committee. Good afternoon. I'm here to talk about Senate Bill 933. I don't know about you all, but this is a big problem right now, particularly in communities such as the food desert and the health enterprise zones. So I want to thank you all for just allowing me to spend a few moments telling you about 933, which requires the Office of the Commissioner of Financial Regulations to submit a report to the General Assembly by December the 31st, 2021, analyzing the banking environment in Maryland. This is, I cannot tell you how important this is. The report must, number one, include the number and types of state and federal banks and other financial institutions by jurisdiction. Number two, identify banking deserts in the state where citizens have limited access to financial services or are living in areas without a credit union or a branch bank. And number three, to recommend strategies to ensure residents of underserved jurisdictions have access to financial services. Senate Bill 933 will create a study that will give important insight and recommendations concerning how the financial services and banking institutions can expand access to these services. I might want to say that I have been in contact with the Maryland Bankers Association, and we did not have any persons to come in opposition to this. People see the banks and the credit unions all see a need for this to take place. And I certainly would hope that you all will give Senate Bill 933 a favorable report. Once again, I want to thank you all for allowing me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Senator Benson. There's one witness. I can't see him, but that doesn't mean he's not here. Jason Davidson. Is Mr. Davidson here? All right, doesn't appear to be questions for Delegate, Senator Benson. Delegate Wilson.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the intent behind the legislation. I have a question because we've been banding this word around this session. So what, what would the definition of a banking desert be? And this is not an attempt to be pedantic. It's just trying to get an understanding because I know depending on education, food, and the like, there's a different definition. What do you have in mind when you're envisioning a banking desert?
Okay, let me just tell you what we are seeing in some of our areas in the state of Maryland. We are seeing where banks have closed, and it has subjected one single bank to be open, and people are not able to get to that bank because of transportation and other issues. Where they have had these banks in certain communities, these banks have been closed down. I was at a bank this morning just to take a look. And when I got to the bank, which is out in the Kettering area, which is far away from the health, and this problem pretty much prevails in the health enterprise and food deserts. You don't have banks, just as you don't have grocery stores, you don't have doctor's offices, and now we have an issue with banks that are closed and people in that area who don't have access to transportation, the means to get to a bank, are subjected to having to, first of all, I don't know, quite frankly, I don't know how they do it, but they are subjected to having to travel long distances way out of their community to go to these banks. So I went to the bank this morning that's out in, because the bank at Lake Arbor and the bank in the Sea Pleasant area has been closed. And so we saw long lines of people waiting outside to get into the bank. The weather yesterday, I got a complaint from the manager. She said, Senator Benson, I wish there was something we could do about it. I said, well, we have a bill in that's taking a hard look at this. And I explained to her, she said, Senator Benson, I understand, because the Lake Arbor Bank is right across, right on the other side. So a lot of people who've been subjected to having to deal with the bank in Lake Arbor now have to come here, but they have to wait in long lines. So I would think that a bank is a bank that has been closed in an area where you have people who truly do not have the means to move outside of their community, to go way over yonder, the deep blue sea, to get to a bank to do their business. So that clarifies it for you.
And like I said, I just want to make sure that your intent was followed in the bill, because a lot, as far as if you had a distance, if you wanted to differentiate between a area like you were discussing, in some of the rural areas, which also would have similar issues depending on the property. But I know that space would be different. I just wanted to make sure I understood what's envisioning as far as space. Well, I'll go offline later and we can talk about that offline. I just wanted to make sure I understood like what space we were talking about. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It really boils down to not just inside the Beltway. You're absolutely correct. In the rural areas, if you would take a drive in your county, you will see that a number of our banks have been closed down. Some of them were closed. I went to one of the banks with one of my little senior citizens, and the bank was closed, and they did not have the respect to even notify the citizens that the bank has been closed and the reason for the banks being closed. So, and they had to explain to us why these banks are being closed. We have our idea as to why they're being closed, but I'm telling you, it's unfortunate and it's not fair to these dear little souls who don't have the means. They don't have a car. They have to catch 2 or 3 buses. It's just unbelievable. So we want a study to take place.
No worries. I just want to make sure it wasn't for banks that have already been closed, but other areas that banks that may have never had banks but need them nonetheless. So
right.
That's why I want to make sure you're okay with that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Delegate Impalaria.
Thank you, Senator Benson. It's nice to have you back over here.
It's nice to see you.
Yes. So one of the things that and I'm old school, so, and I said to my son, you need to go to the bank for such and such. And he's like, why? Because so many of these young people nowadays do their banking online. I agree with you. There's a large amount of people out there still that don't own computers. And we see that with the unemployment benefits. They don't own computers. They can't apply for a job because they don't have computers. So, we're really in a transition for what the answer is, but I hope that this is going to discuss the fact that the world is changing and more people are doing banking online. I mean, you've probably seen where someone young cashes a check by taking a picture of it, which I still don't understand how that's done. But I think that's probably one of the reasons why there's less and less banks all the time, because more and more of young people are doing all their banking online and by phone. And I don't understand it. I'm going to be at a loss here, but, thank you. And I hope they'll look at that this bill moves forward, that how banking's changed.
But you
Thank
know,
With-
here's the problem with, here's the problem. You know, we are having a serious problem with broadband.
Mhm.
Access to computers and technology in a number of our areas is not there because of the absence of broadband. Also have people who don't have a lot of confidence in online banking. We have as a matter of fact, I talked to a young lady yesterday who's from the Eastern Shore. We just have a problem with people having confidence in technology. We also have little senior citizens and people who have no knowledge of how to operate a computer. And once again, one of the big problems is, even though we have the youngsters that are coming along, but we still have the people, the middle age and the senior citizens who do not have access to technology as a result of broadband. And I might just want to add that broadband is just a serious problem when it comes to the education of our children. We have children who have not had exposure to education because of the absence of broadband. So there are a lot of contributing factors as to why people choose to continue to go to banks. And when we talked with the Bank of America, we talked to Bob Enton and those people, they understand the need for us to do this.
Yeah, and just to tell you, I agree with you. When I first heard the bill, I would think this was about not having banks in neighborhoods that are economically challenged, not having banks in areas where there might be high crime. But this is actually a much larger problem where whether rural neighborhoods or local neighborhoods, the world of banking
Really?
is changing and banks want to bail out. So thank you, Dr. Benson.
All right.
Thank
You, Senator
Or
Benson. We
Senator Benson,
appreciate you
Senator
being
Benson.
here.
Thank you.
I see no further questions, so that will conclude the bill hearings for today. Let's take 5 minutes or whatever. So at 2:20, go to the link you received for the voting session at 2. All right, so we'll see you in about 5 minutes for a voting session. Thank you. Everybody have all the
Thank you.
voices. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.